Hello, adventurers. I am here tonight with Team Drew's Basement. I will be your host, the Dungeon Master Roy with Dark Alchemy Limited, and I would like to introduce board game and TTRPG creator Team Drew. Just say hi first, Drew.
Hey, everybody. Drew here.
I'm also joined by my fellow Dark Alchemist, the Dead Professor.
Hey, everybody.
And our forever DM Evanson.
How's it going today?
Not forever anymore.
Yeah.
No, recently DM Evanson did jump in with us on one of my plays where I took the seat and brought him into the swamp, and he had a good time fighting in the mud. Yeah. But let's go to a story to Team Drew. So, Drew, we always like to start this show with a war story about Dungeons & Dragons. You are a forever DM. Can you share a funny or interesting story about something that happened in your campaign?
Sure. So I've been running my homebrew for 28 years, and sometimes things just happen there that you don't plan for, but like tie back into things from years ago. So one session, my friend Pat was running his Warforged. They were in a town that had burned down years ago in the campaign. They had to go back to that town to find something. They wound up stepping through like a time portal, and they went in to search for this crystal. They found the crystal. All the enemies were starting to encroach the town and trying to find them. So they're hiding behind this building. And my friend Adam goes, we really need to figure out some kind of distraction. We need to really lure them away from us so we can do it. So my friend Pat is just sitting there going like this. And we're like, where he's striking his hands together. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm a Warforged. I'm making a spark and I'm going to light this hay on fire. So they go towards the fire and we can escape. And we all just take a gasp moment because we realize that something that happened 8 years ago, he's the reason the town burned down because they went back in time. So completely innocently planned, didn't mean for it to be that way, but it's like, okay, this is how the town burned down then. You did it. So
the Warforged just closed that whole story loop without any planning or really realizing it?
No. And it was something that another player had done earlier in the campaign in terms of like he discovered the city already burned down. And now we've just by sheer coincidence found out why. And we still joke about it to this day.
There does seem to be a lot of burning of buildings in Dungeons and Dragons for some reason.
Yeah.
Can you confirm that
you're playing? That's only when you're playing, Roy.
I did accidentally burn a few buildings down. So why don't you, Drew, can you tell us about how long you've been playing Dungeons and Dragons, kind of where you started, and just a little background about that?
Sure. So basically, I mean, we're now in the 28th year, going on the 29th of the campaign. When I was 14 years old, a couple of my friends, both of them named Ryan, had gotten Advanced Dungeons and Dragons for their birthday. And they're like, hey, man, like you're into Diablo, you're into this. Why don't you come try and Dungeon Master this game and we'll try playing it? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll give it a go. And this was at a time when there was a social tax, so we didn't tell anybody. We were just doing it quietly.
Yeah.
And we went to my friend Ryan's house and we busted open the book, and all of a sudden one day there was a wagon going down a muddy road leading into a small village that was in a swamp surrounded by creatures that were in the forest. And from there, it's just grown to now. My friend Adam has been in the game almost all 28 years.
Wow.
Okay.
And we're still running it now. I streamed it for a while during the beginning of 5e. And I mean, over the course of 28 years, I've invented cities. I've invented a world that essentially encompasses 3 planes. I've created gods. I've created governments, cities, deep lore, demigods, tons of NPCs. And it just, every edition of the game that comes out, we just kind of reinvent it a bit. And we start a new chapter of the story. So like when 5th edition came out, we said, all right, that campaign story is going to kind of wrap up. Let's start a new chapter in a new part of the world and build this part of the world. And we keep doing that. And now just recently we decided to restart and go over to Old School Essentials, which is essentially the same exact thing I started with 28 years ago, just in a current format.
Yeah. Wow.
So how many groups of players do you think you've run through this in 29 years?
It's tough to answer because essentially one
really core group and just a couple players floated in and out.
I mean, that's a really great question. I'm trying to figure out the best way to answer it. So I'll break it down this way. My friend Adam has been in the game over 20 years. He's been there since the start, really. My friend Chris, who you guys might know, Chris Conklin, who's at Long Island Tabletop a lot.
Mhm.
He's been in it for over 10 years. My friend Kevin's been in it for 15 plus years. And besides those guys, we've had a couple that have cycled in and out. David Johnson, who you had on your show, I met him at the first Long Island Tabletop when it was a standalone.
Okay.
And he's joined my campaign, which is really exciting. He's a really nice guy. And subsequently became a really good friend. But I would say one main group, really, but I would say we've had a handful of players in and out, just either...
Let me ask it maybe in a different way. How many different character groups have you had?
Oh, I would say 3 major character groups.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's impressive. So you've had character groups that stuck together for 10 years, and I'm guessing from level 1 to... Did you get to 20? Do you think...
Last group got to 20. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it ended with them defeating the big evil thing called the original evil that descended down from the sky. A character who is near and dear to me, and he's an NPC named Drew Thalion because I named him when I was 14. So I finally said goodbye to him. He wound up sacrificing himself by latching on to the original evil and peeling off his armor because he has a very long story, but he essentially became like angelic, and he sacrificed himself, peeling apart his armor and exploding in a nova of light, which manifested the original evil into like a physical manifestation. And the last group at level 20 was able to fight him and defeat him.
That's awesome.
Okay.
That's really cool. So you guys are level 5 in my campaign. That means in like 15 years you could go to level 6. I like this.
Well, no, that brings another great question. How often do you guys regularly play?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say when we were heavy hitting, we were doing it 2 weeks on, 1 week off.
Okay.
And
So
now,
consistently.
yeah, now it's more of, like, for instance, we're meeting this Thursday night to continue the story. And at the end of the session, now that we're all kind of older, we just pull out our phones at the end of the night, open up calendars, and say, okay, what's the next Thursday? So we could meet the next week. We can meet in 2 weeks. It's just whatever works.
Sure.
But we try to be pretty consistent.
That's awesome.
So that kind of sparks an interesting question, which is, it's Dungeons and Dragons related, but it's also kind of like social related. Do you think that these games and getting together and having the adventure together, which is the story that you're telling, reinforces your friendships? Because if you were to get together just at a bar or maybe another social setting, hanging out, even like maybe a barbecue, you're still getting your friends. But now when you sit down at a table and you tell a story together and everybody goes on this adventure together, do you think that reinforces the friendship? Because now you can look back upon that time you stopped the ultimate evil or the original evil, that time you fought the dragon, or something funny happened. And it's almost like you had lived those adventures, even though it was really just on the table in your mind.
Well, I mean, my game's kind of funny because every Thursday that we have the game, I cook for everybody. It's a social gathering. It's not just sitting down to play dice or, all right, guys, everybody get into the table. We're going to start the story. It's like we sit down, like we have drinks together. We eat together. I cook dinner for everybody.
Awesome.
And this is every session. I'll barbecue. Like the other day I made pulled chicken tacos. The week before that I made burgers and hot dogs. I've made steaks. Like, it's whatever the weather calls for. And I would say that playing together like that, to answer your question direct, definitely reinforces it. But with the way I do my game in general, how it's really kind of more of like a family getting together and playing. Yeah. I mean, if the game didn't happen, we all just went out to a bar too. Like it would have the same vibe as it does as us sitting in the basement and playing the game.
Okay. And so speaking of cooking then, how long is your actually sessions run? How long is your play time, or how much time do you dedicate to playing? Our block of time on our Wednesday nights are, sit down by 7 and, we'll order food, bring food. We have some drinks too and social. And occasionally we'll have, like a bigger food event. But for the most part, you sit down, from 7 to 11, maybe 6:30, maybe go a little bit late. So what's kind of your time frame when you play?
So it's a pretty strict time schedule, or I should say consistent, really. 5:30, dinner's ready, because I have 2 kids I have to feed as well. So,
Sure.
So I make everybody's dinner at once. So 5:30 is food. You can show up anytime after that to come eat. 6 o'clock, we're down in the basement getting ready to roll, and then we go till everyone's done. Like if the session's going and we're in a streak, we might go till like 11 o'clock. Okay. If we hit a good point to stop and it's 9:30, we'll just say, you know what, now's a good time to stop, and we'll maybe just BS and talk friend stuff for a while, and then we'll head home.
Sure.
Now we met you at Long Island Tabletop this year and last year. You had a beautiful setup for another game that we'll get into. But you were, am I correct in understanding you were Dungeon Master for the Weathered Dragons table? Were you running that, or was that next year?
So no, this past year. So what happened was I met Mike, who is the Weather Dragon.
Yeah, we did an interview with him last week, and that posted last Sunday. So had an awesome time talking about his experience, which was cool. But we didn't know you were dungeon mastering for him.
Well, kind of. Essentially, I met him in Mysticon in 2020. What year is it? It's 25 now. In 2024. So we met out in California. Me, him, Todd Stashwick, and James and Tabletop Misfits. We all just kind of met up and went, and we got to network. And I made him call. I said, "Hey, dude, like I run at Long Island Tabletop every year. My tables sell out pretty quick. You know, I can guarantee people will be sitting at the table if you want to bring it up." I'm like, "But I don't want to put you out or whatever." He's like, "No, I'm totally down." Cool. So he accepted the invite. I took him out to dinner, and we set up the table Friday night, and I ran all weekend on that table, and that is a beautiful table, man.
Yeah, that's cool. And what did you run? Did you do some one shots? I mean, obviously one shots for the most part, but what was kind of the vibe?
Well, the way I do it at Long Island Tabletop is I usually at least do one day of a 3-part story where you can either sit for all 3 sessions and get a full all-day story, or you can hop in for one session and get like a full complete story for like that one session. But if you wanted to go on, you could. This year
cool.
I did. Oh, I'm sorry.
I said, cool. That's cool. I like that. You can continue it.
So this year I did Diablo 2 on the tabletop, where you entered Act 1, where you had to fight Bloodraven in the burial grounds. Then you had to enter the cloister and fight Andariel. And then Act 3 was you fought Diablo himself.
Oh, cool.
Nice. And then what rule set did you use for that?
I used Old School Essentials because it was perfect, because OSC is like that old school, like low hit point, low damage, and it's brutal. Like you're probably going to get hit in the face pretty hard.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, I ran my 2 original games, the Auto Infinite Atavastic and the Gehenna Project. One's like a horror sci-fi. One's a horror survival. One's a sci-fi.
Nice.
And it was a lot of fun. The groups were great.
So now you mentioned homebrew, you mentioned some old school essentials, and you said in our pre-recorded conversation, we were talking about your Venture Trilogy book campaign for the old school essentials is going to be being worked on. It's going to go on sale. So walk us through why you decided to go back to old school essentials, kind of what rule set you're going to use, and just kind of your thought process. We're taking a step back instead of just continuing with 5e and D&D 1 or 5.5 or whatever you want to call it nowadays.
All right. We're gonna get some clicks on this one. Don't worry, it's all safe. But so D&D 5e came out, and I got my group going, and it was great. And we started streaming, and I won't say any names, but I had someone join the group from Instagram who was local, and it really brought a dynamic to light that I never saw before in Dungeons and Dragons, where basically like no characters are allowed to die and all this other stuff. I was like, all right, I can work with that. Like we'll figure something out. And like just the way 5e had gone and the way D&D 1 is going is you're no longer entering the game as like just this person who has to become like, you're not entering as Aragorn or Frodo or Samwise. Like you're not like someone who's thrust, like you're probably better than the average person, but you're thrust into this deep story and like adventure, and you create heroic tales. You're not automatically heroic. And I feel like 5e and definitely D&D 1 has basically said, look, you're Iron Man, you're Thor, you're Hulk, and they're all peons. Go save the world and be big damn heroes, and don't worry about any consequences.
Okay.
And
now, do you think that's a rules issue or a player base issue?
I think it's both. Listen, the game has to evolve with the community. The community wants to be heroes. That's the game they want. Make that game by all means. I think Wizards is catering towards that demand to sell books.
Okay.
And again, there's so many TTRPGs out there. If that's what the player base wants, do it. I'm not judging anybody. Play your game your way. I always say that.
Yeah.
But for me, I like that nitty gritty. I like that lethality is in the game. I like that death is a threat in every encounter. It doesn't matter if you're encountering 3 skeletons. If if you have an unlucky day, you have an unlucky day. That's how it goes.
Yeah. Well,
no,
it
definitely favors the players in this edition as far as survival. So,
yeah.
In our two quick stories. DM Evanson read us through the Curse of Strahd. When we did our session 0, we sat down beforehand and we said that, okay, this is it's a hard world. If you die, get ready to maybe make another character up.
I don't know my name.
I don't know what I was going to say, Drew. You see the dead professor? He wasn't always the dead professor. He was just the professor. Yeah. How did you pass away in that campaign, Scott?
Ghoul took me down. Second attack crit. Failed my next death save. Boom, dead. Never got a heal.
Just throw that. Yeah, and then
the healer was just not doing his job.
That'll happen.
Oh wait, that was me.
Yeah.
I was trying to stop the vampires from entering the other room. And then so in our current campaign, we made our own world. And like yourself doing homebrew, we've all played a long time. And I think you get to the point where you wanna play God, you want to kind of create your own world. And we're doing the world of Erendor.
Awesome.
And DM Evanson is running our group, which I'm a player in Lyon, which is the south of the forest in this world. And then I had a second group of players who kind of grew, and they said, well, we want to try D&D. So I said, okay. I said, well, you're going to be in the north of the forest in the swamp. So we have 2 campaigns. I'm playing in one and I'm running one. And the players aren't meeting each other in either campaign. It's separate, but it's all happening in the same world in a parallel timeline.
And the same timeline.
And the same timeline, yes, yeah. And now with the new group, we had a session 0, and I basically said, well, this is going to be your monster hunters, and it could be dangerous. You might die, and they were all okay with it. And the first session, I pulled some punches. I maybe changed a few hit points here and there because they had never played in. When's the last time they played, Scott? It's been like
most of them had not played since second edition.
Yeah. So
I mean, literally 25, 30 years since they played.
Exactly. So they fought some swamp zombies, had a counter, and I was like, okay, they each had a heroic moment. But now the second part, where the monsters kind of attacked the town, I was like, okay, I'm not going to hold any punches. DM Evanson got to come in and play as a guest character.
Nice.
And I had this effigy. It was the Bloodborne effigy I made up. It was a giant voodoo doll that the cultists were pushing forward to distract, and it actually ended up blowing up as one of its abilities. And I didn't ask who had how many hit points left or whatever. I was like, oh, it blows up and it does 19, and somebody turns around. I only got 2 hit points left. You almost died. It's pretty dangerous out there in the swamps, So, but they were all okay with it. And they were excited. So we do have a level of lethality.
And we did make some house rules because we do agree 5e can be a little lighthearted.
Yeah.
So the replacement for the dead professor was a monk, and I would chronically get brought to 0, healed up 3 hit points, stand up, throw my punches, knock down. And at the end of the campaign, I went to Dave and I was like, it just doesn't make sense. We got to fix that. So we put in exhaustion for every time you're knocked below 0.
See, that's great.
So, we do understand exactly what you're talking about. And so we've tried to make 2024 a little harsher and a little more gritty.
And we hide the death saves as well.
All right.
All roll the death saves, can't matter too much with like, we got 2 more turns before we have to heal him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but unfortunately, you have to make those tweaks if you want that grittiness.
Right. And the thing with it, too, is like one of the things that started to really turn me off was like, I would have like these crazy encounters, everyone would be like on their list hit points. Some people would drop below 0. They'd be on death saves. And then like, okay, cool. We're going to get a room for a night. Tomorrow we'll be back to perfect health. And I'm like, this is just silly. Like there should be something going on here.
Yeah. So, if you don't space out your encounters, it's like long rest, and they just pop back up. And it can be frustrating when you have an encounter and they're fresh for the next one. And now it becomes like easy mode.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those DMs who tries to kill their player. I'm not like, oh, I'm the DM because I said so. Like that's not my play style at all. Yep. Like I want the players to forge a story. I want them to have a good time. I basically so the way I DM is I improv just about everything. I make everything up on the spot, and so I put into the players' hands like, feel your characters out, say what you're going to say, and I'll react to what you guys do, and we'll build the story like that. I'm all about everyone having a good time. I don't want anybody to just die just because. I don't want to TPK people.
Yeah.
But it's also frustrating that like that big model I showed you guys before, like she is a huge epic encounter when she's fighting people. Like she has an ability that when she hits you, if she does X amount of damage, you get ported to a different part of the map. Okay. And in that part of the map, she has demons that come out of like hell portals, and you have to defeat them to get back to the fight.
Okay, I like that.
So you're getting your butt kicked on all over the place.
It's like a WoW battle.
World of Warcraft there. The same place.
So I was a main tank on a server my entire World of Warcraft career. So a lot of those raid boss battles influenced me.
And I would love to see more of that in people's games like that mechanics, because it adds a little more, flavor than just kill him.
Absolutely.
Well, that's what happens. Is like I'm sorry. Please first.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say that one of the things that really irked me was like I felt like everything was just a straight up like, here's the bad guys, here's you, roll initiative. Like I wanted to do something like the World of Warcraft raids where, so she hits this group with a whatever spell blast it is, right? 3 people get hit, they all take 10 plus damage. Well, all 3 of them are now teleported to this floating bit of the cathedral that blew apart and is floating in air through arcane mists, right? Yeah. So now the demons crawl out from underneath on top of the rock. Now they're fighting those demons. When they kill those demons, a portal opens up that they can jump through, and it brings them right back to the battle where the other members of their team are still fighting, like the big bad lady with the wings. And then she hits someone else, and they get ported somewhere. Different status effects happen that, like, so one of the things that I had was called Ticking Time Bomb, where it was a spell she would cast, and you failed to save, you basically had 3 turns to get as far away from the players as you could, because the further away you got, the less damage it did when you erupted. Mm-hmm. And like I incorporate all that, and then after doing all this work, this big crazy battle, everyone has a blast, everyone's laughing, everyone's screaming. It's down to 1 guy standing. She's down to 2 hit points for rolling dice, hoping to hit. Everybody's out of their seat. Everybody's going crazy. Everyone barely survives. Okay, cool. Take an 8-hour sleep, and then we'll be back at and do another insane thing like that tomorrow, and it'll be like brand new.
Yeah, yeah. That is a hard balance to balance those rests, or let them take the short rest and get some hit points back where they feel like it is a struggle. I think when you do a true dungeon crawl, you have more as a dungeon master. You can control that more because the players have to say, "Oh, we
can't get the rest."
It's a hallway. We gotta find a room to lock up on, or let's try to push a little further and try to find someplace safe.
Right.
But let me, Drew. Let me ask you this then. You're describing these big epic battles. Are you using theater of the mind? Are you using miniatures on a table? Are you printing stuff? Are you crafting stuff?
It depends.
How do you like to play?
It honestly, it really depends. For like little nonsense encounters, like for instance, one of the modules that I call it a module, but it's my game that I ran at Lit that was really popular when I started 5th edition. I did something called the Halls of the Mad King, where it's essentially a 3-session thing. For that, if you're just, you go through the room, a couple of skeletons come in, theater of the mind, they're this far apart, you're this far apart, how do you want to handle this? And, we kind of take it like that. For big, complicated battles like the one I was just describing, full-on miniatures, I 3D print, I paint, I don't know if you guys got to see at Long Island Tabletop this year, I actually recreated Tristram Cathedral and the burial grounds from the video game, pretty much identical.
Yeah.
Yes.
Using foam, 3D printed stuff. I use candle, like little tea
lights.
lights.
I love to see that at a con. So, that's what I feel like should be at a con,
Yeah, well, that was kind of my thing too. I'm like, I want to do something real special for everybody playing. So like I got like the tea lights. I fully painted a cathedral, and if you guys saw it, it was I think it was something like 3 foot long, the cathedral. It was big.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And so when I do it at home, sometimes I'll do, like I said, I'll craft 3D terrain. I'll paint up minis. Yeah. I always tell everybody, give me your minis from, like, if you want to do like Hero Forge or something, I'll print them and I'll paint them up. And everyone loves that because none of my friends paint.
Do you paint fast? Are you a fast painter?
It depends. I'm a very, very, very fast painter. I painted, so I was going to film a mini wargaming for Horus Heresy. I painted a 3,000 point Sons of Horus army in 24 hours.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. That's crazy.
And the crazy thing about it was,
I got speed paints?
No, I don't use speed paints at all. And I basically took that army there, filmed with Josh, which you can see the bat rep in my link tree if you're ever interested. And then I played Steve, and Mountain Miniature Steve liked the army paint job so well, he bought the army from me on spot.
Oh wow, that's a good sale. That's a good sale.
No, listen, it was great because he just traded me. He's like, I'll give you everything that's in this army twice, and I'll take the army. I was like, done.
Yeah. So we'll one second, Scott. We'll put your links down below. We can find it on Instagram. It's at team_Drews_basement. That's at team_Drew_basement. And we'll put your link tree in the description of the YouTube video so they can find you there. And they'll be able to find a battle report for My Mini Wargaming, which you said you went to.
In Canada.
In Canada, you got invited.
Yeah, they do awesome reports.
And all your other socials will be on there too. So tell us about the paints. Are you sponsored by somebody? Are you using a certain paint? We were discussing that before.
Yeah, so I'm sponsored by Dracoya.com, and they use Chimera paints. And there they are. Yeah, so I've been painting almost as long as I've been running Dungeons and Dragons, because I got into like 2nd edition, 3rd edition Warhammer 40K. And just started learning to paint and stuff because my dad was a model railroader.
Wow, yeah, that's funny.
He used to professionally build like layouts and tracks and the terrain for everything. So like I was exposed to it at a young age. So yeah. Oh, listen, I'm telling you, props to my dad. If you guys he was at my table at Long Island Tabletop. You guys got to talk to me if you ever want to see beautiful painted miniatures. This guy's next level. So basically, I've been painting since, I would say maybe, obviously 20 plus years. I don't know the exact amount, but in all my years, these are the first paints I've used that I've actually like gone, wow, like as I'm painting, like how nice it goes on. Definitely not a beginner paint. You do have to thin them and probably mix some paints to see like to get an exact tone you want. Yeah. But they're single pigment paints. Oh, excuse me. And
They have a high pigment content then?
Yeah, very high. And that's why I say use some medium, use a little bit of water, thin them out. But I'll tell you, man, when they dry, it is smooth. I've never seen anything dry this smooth before. That's awesome. And the vibrancy of the color is fantastic. It is. And I'm not just saying that because they sponsor me. Like they so Dracoya Minis, I had spoken to her. We met at PAX, and I'm like, yeah, I'll try them out. I'll see what I think of them. And I'm dead serious. I just fell in love with them. They're my primary paint now.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's awesome. So code only Drew 10.
Only Drew's 10. Yeah.
There you go.
It's a joke on OnlyFans, but
yeah, I like it.
I like that. Yeah, we'll put the links too. Hopefully some people buy some paints and you get some credit for that.
Well, you're pretty sure that the Goblin Alchemist is going to go run and try him because I don't think he's heard of that brand. So
yeah.
Well, so I mean, we have a friend Bob. We have a friend Bob. He's the Goblin Alchemist on Instagram, and so when we do our shows, we just actually did Long Island Trek. We sold D&D minis there. It's actually pretty good. But so we have these 2 display cases with miniatures, and we don't sell the painted ones, but Bob will paint for us, and he's a go-to guy. He's talking to people about the paints, and he's always buying new paints. And he's like, "Oh, this paint is shimmering. This paint's that." And I'm sitting there slapping speed colors, but
he's good, and he does all our miniatures for our campaign and stuff. So
yeah. I mean, listen, I would recommend have him buy like one of the small little like 6-packs to try him.
Yeah,
because
I know he will. There's no question.
They're great. And so the big thing he'll love. I mean, you guys might love it too, because if you guys are dabbling in paint. The dispensing system of the bottle with the way it stores the paint and how you put it on the wet palette is the best. It doesn't clog, it doesn't jam up, it doesn't get dirty. It's freaking great.
That's big.
Spend all that money on paint, you want the paint, work and not to waste it every time it shoots out or you do too much or it dries up somehow.
You go to use it, it's no good. You're like, oh.
And that's what I love about this one too, is like a little goes a long way because you thin it out a little bit. It's really great stuff. I genuinely love it. I can't say enough good stuff about it. The only thing I will say that I say is negative about it is obviously not talking about anyone in particular. If you're a beginner painter and you're listening to this, you think you're going to try them out, you're going to have a little more patience than an experienced painter to figure out how to really apply it so it looks great. Like, because again, you have to figure out the thinning. Like they have a purple. If you want like a slightly different purple, you might have to mix a little other color with it on the wet palette, because it's really
they don't have a huge color range yet, right? It looked like kind of.
They actually have a decent color range. I think I have over 40 paints on my desk, easy. But like, for instance, if you're looking for, pink horror pink, they might not have that exact. You might have to mix and blend to match other colors. But in terms of what they have out of the bottle, they have a lot of options. It's just if you're looking to match particular hues,
they're not
of previous colors you've used,
DW paints or somebody else's paints colors,
exactly. And then, like I said, the other thing is just figuring out where you like to thin it to. That's the biggest challenge. Once you get that, then you're locked in. You're good to go. For me, because I love painting minis, I would say in about an hour, I was like, okay, this is how much I want to add to get it where I want it, and I was comfortable with using it. So.
Well, you're responsive for them, but you're also giving them an honest review that it is a more advanced paint, and but then you encourage people to paint more, and you get better, and you'll get to that level where you'll be able to create some beautiful miniatures for the table.
Absolutely.
Speaking of miniatures, we had some chibi that were painted by Bob, like that, and you actually have a game where you have some chibis, right? And can you tell us a little bit about your game? Now, this caught my eye right here, the Minotaur Elementalist. And now this is just a card, and this is the cartoon. And my last character was the Grave Cleric. He was a heroic Minotaur who almost single-handedly saved the world of Barovia.
Single-handedly killed more characters than anyone else.
So let's see. We have here WOSDEC Wozdek. Tell us about that game, Drew.
So for those that are familiar with it, it's an expansion for Super Dungeon Explorer. For those that aren't familiar with it, it's basically a board game, almost D&D light, where you set off with a group of heroes and you go dungeon delving into like a 3 or 4 tile dungeon. There's mini bosses, dungeon bosses, and a bunch of like spawns that you have to fight to get through to the end. And that game has hit I don't know the proper term for this. We'll just say a rough spot.
Okay.
Because of their Kickstarter that never got delivered. Because they were doing something like this for their last Kickstarter, $1.5 million funded, and it never reached anybody's hands because of a lot of issues behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So for me, my dad loved playing this game. My dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, thank you. But I'll just spoil it for you. He's fully recovered and 100%.
Okay.
Good to go. But it was a tough time for him. So one of the things that he really liked to do was play WOSDEC, my version of Super Dungeon. So me and my friends would get together like every other Thursday with him, and we'd play Super Dungeon.
That's great.
And it would keep his spirits up. He's really happy about it, and he would always have a good time. So I just kept developing the rule set that I was working on just for my friends to have fun, to the point that it blew up into a complete campaign system for it with end game raid battles that are like tabletop World of Warcraft raids, like everything. And the creators of the game reached out to me one day because I was like, you know what? How do you honor friends that do that for your dad? Listen, they look at my dad like their dad. Like a lot of the guys who I game with grew up, with my dad. Yeah. So I said, how do I honor them? You know what? I'm going to make custom characters, and I'm going to commission to have miniatures made for them to put themselves in the game. Like, it's just like a thank you. Awesome. So I posted one image. So the girl you see here in the shadow, that's Celeste. She's the big bad of the whole thing.
Okay.
I got her miniature commission first so we could fight her. And I just got a message from one of the creators of Super Dungeon. Hey, we kind of need to talk. And I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I'm like, I can't be in trouble. I'm not selling this. Like, this is for my own home group. They can't say anything. This is BS.
Yeah. Okay.
So I wound up having a meeting with them on Teams where the 2 original creators of the game sat down with me, and I'm like ready to go to battle and be like, you can't tell me what to do. Yeah. And they were just like, hey man, like, this is so cool. Like, what do you want to do with this? And I was like, what?
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, they were super cool. And because apparently they had been watching my account for a while. And even when I was on just Facebook, they were watching everything I was posting, like the chibi forms that I was doing with the game. And they're like, dude, this is really, really cool. Like, what's the end game? I said, I would love to be able to just put it out there for people to buy if they want to buy it.
Yep.
And from there, I was granted a special one-off OGL to create this expansion and put it out in the world. And the Kickstarter and GameFound attempts both failed because the community is still very hostile.
Yeah.
And because of the core game, not hostile towards you or anything, but because of the failure in the core game.
So both. It's really weird. I got some heinous messages. One message I got regularly is people thought that I was one of the creators under a disguise,
trying to pull a scam,
like legit, and like to the point
that you grew a beard and you're a different person, right?
Well, that's the problem. We're both white dudes with a beard. So they assume we're the same. But I mean, I'm 6'3", covered in tattoos. Like he's not, and a lot of people came up with the forums and they're like, "Hey, man, like we went to Long Island Tabletop. Like Drew's Drew. Like he's who he appears to be." And but the community was a little hostile toward me. Like, how dare you put this out after what they did? How dare you try and charge money for this? And I was like, this is crazy. To the point that the people who still love the game had to be like, yo, guys, like leave him alone. He's trying to keep the game going for everybody. Yeah. And so regardless, they both failed, which kind of worked out in my favor because a lot of the paper printing stuff was going to be done in China.
Oh,
so
yeah.
With the tariffs in place now, I could have lost my shirt on this.
Yeah.
So now what's happening is they've given me full freedom to release my miniature line called the Plague Throne miniature line. So all my chibis, my dragon, everything is all going to be sold through me, directly through me. It's all my own stuff. And then I'm putting out the rules for free as a PDF, which is currently on target to be a 200-page plus book for a board game.
Okay.
And then what I'm going to do as a service to the community is I have a place where I get my books printed. I don't want to listen to me because I don't know how that works. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but
yeah, no.
Because they're like an actual company and I don't want to be like, hey, I mentioned you on the thing. And they're like, why would you do that?
No problem. But the books will be coming and it'll be good quality and they'll look good for people who want to buy them.
Yeah, so what I'm gonna do a hardcover release, and I'm gonna just
basically like the hardcover.
Please don't get me started. Everyone's like, you should do this on PDFs. I'm like, but you can hold a book. They're like, but no, do PDFs. I'm like, no, you can hold a book. Like you can smell the book.
Yeah,
and they're like, no.
I'm a book sniffer.
Me too.
We look up that term. There's a term.
We just became best friends.
Well, after this, you're gonna have to tell us who it is because we want stuff printed too.
Okay, I absolutely will. The books I had printed up for Long on Tabletop this year, the Little Adventure books, was me just testing them. I chose bottom of the barrel for everything to just do it cheap because I was just giving them out, and the quality was better than some books I've gotten that are professionally printed.
Yeah,
Drew, let me take one step back so I understand.
Sure.
Woe's Deck. You're creating the miniatures, and you have the rules. And I saw your table set up along on Tabletop both years. I think last year, before we decided to vend and do our own little Dark Alchemy venture and 3D print ourselves and create some content, that I walked over to your table and I was blown away by the paint job. And I didn't know how much you were into painting and your history with that. So when I saw these miniatures, because I feel like you had some bigger ones like that were on display, maybe not using the game.
You mean those right there?
Yes, that's it. We get a little bit.
Is this where your cheap addiction started?
Maybe. My cheap addiction.
It's Drew's fault.
So, I'll take that blame.
So Drew, miniatures rules. The whole table is set up. Is Super Dungeon Explorer still available? Is the Woe's Deck version have different maps or a tabletop? Because you had a whole dungeon set up. So how would you set that up?
So that's actually an excellent question. It's currently not available. You can find it on eBay and everything. But one of the things I'm doing is I am releasing this free. I'm going to do it where anyone who wants a printed copy, we're going to pool together. I'm just going to take the cost of it, divide it by the number of people that want it, and that's going to be what I'm going to charge. I'm not going to charge to make more money on it. Yep. In addition to those things being available, I'm also going to include in a separate download an entire thing of tile packs. Everything you need to play the game is going to be in the book. That you can if you want to print the cards.
I guess that's the question, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So
what do you need to play?
So from the PDFs, you can get all the hero cards, the enemy cards, all the item cards. You can print them all out on if you want to go to. I'm not officially saying it, but there is a certain makingofplayingcards.com website that they're going to be in the. So see the way this looks right now, how square that is, and the dimensions of it.
Yeah.
If you literally take this photo and place it into their template, you'll get a perfect card for it.
Nice.
Really?
Yes. So that's how I'm designing it.
Story. Nice.
So I'm designing it where basically everything with this book, I'm going to unofficially announce where you can put the assets to get them printed perfectly. And
awesome.
Same with the book. So like if you download the book, it's now going to be formatted to the new printer that I'm using. And if you bring it there, you can just give it to them and they'll print it out perfect every time because I'm following all their margins and bleeds. So that will be in there. Enemies will be in there. All the Mighty Monster charts, everything you need to play the game will be in a second download as well, in terms of tiles, charts, tokens that you can print out and just do on your own if you want to.
Now, did you? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dave.
Did you do the art, or did you hire someone to work with someone?
So it's a mixture. So a lot of this card is me. The character art is a friend in Poland who actually, strangely enough, came to Long Island for work one day, and we met up for ramen over in Babylon.
Wow!
And awesome. Oh, listen, what an amazing guy! He was so sweet, and like we had lunch together, and we just got to know each other, like talked music the whole time. Cool. He did the character art. All the art for the card is me.
Nice.
I have some other artwork that I did. I had a second artist do just like the items that you can craft and build and stuff like that. And I combined it all, and I'm doing all the layout and everything for the book myself.
So for
got a little bit of everything.
For our podcast listeners, we're looking at a card which has a purple and green background. It's Toons, the human necromancer of the basement. I guess that's Drew's basement.
Yeah.
He's the master of souls. He has a strength of 3, armor 1/1, a will of 2, a dex of 2. Looks like 4 health, 2 mana. For 3 blue, I'm not sure what blue is.
Blue is a support action, which means it doesn't cause damage. It's just an action that you do.
So he can summon a grave golem, place a grave golem adjacent to this hero, and I'm sure there's a miniature for that. That sounds exciting.
There is, and it's large and it's frightening.
I love
even
it.
though it's chibi.
He has
Drew,
the.
Sorry, go ahead, Roy.
I was going to say he has the Poison Nova ability and the Nightshade Potion. So go ahead, Professor.
So Super Dungeon Explorer was Soda Pop Miniatures, which is gone now, right? And then Ninja Division, which I know they filed bankruptcy, but I don't know where they stand.
So Soda Pop Miniatures still exist. Those are the IP holders, which are currently held by the original creators, John Deek.
Okay.
They are very nice guys. I've met them multiple times. They still have all the rights to Super Dungeon. So they were able to say to me, hey, create this own thing and you're not going to get sued. Here it is in writing,
Okay. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Ninja Division once who took over and they tried to run multiple, this is my take on it. This isn't anything I've been told. They tried to do multiple Kickstarters at the same time. And what I think happened, and I could be way off my mark on this, but just looking at everything, Legends was such a huge success at $1.5 million that it seemed to me that maybe they invested that money to also do the other Kickstarters they wanted to do, which didn't go as well.
Yeah, we've seen other companies do that. We all know that game, unfortunately. It's the Kickstarter, the potential Kickstarter curse when companies start doing Kickstarters.
Well, I have the T on companies and Kickstarters if you want it. This is something I learned when launching my own game, because which I can tell you, I could do a whole interview on creating your own game and production and everything, because what an experience that is. Spilling the tea. Nice. What's the tea, honeybee? So basically, when you go to these Kickstarters and you see, for instance, let's say board game, the Dark Alchemy board game, and you guys in your all in.
Don't joke about that. We're working on one.
Okay, listen, that's fine. This is going to just be an example. Okay. Let's say in your all-in tier, it's $150. You guys put 120 miniatures into that $150 pledge, plus all the books, cards, expansions, stretch goals, all that other stuff, right?
Yeah.
How do you think you're going to afford all that $120, $150 a pledge? So here's what I found out. I met with a certain very high-end, very prestigious shipping company about distributing mine, and they're like, yeah, so to ship your game, all these boxes, all these miniatures, package it here, sort it for you per pledge, and ship it out to each individual pledge person, blah, 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 blah. And the most expensive one would be $25 in shipping. But you charge what you want to charge. And I said, excuse me? And I said, what does that mean? They're like, well, $25 to Alaska, $14 to California, $7 to New York, for everything here for an all-in pledge and blah, 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 blah. A lot of these companies, we give them the same numbers and they charge $150 for shipping.
Yep. Flat rate.
Wow.
They make all their money on shipping.
Yeah. So that's what they do is they get you at that low buy-in and then they hit you on the back end with the shipping that now you either pay the shipping or you forego and they keep your money anyway. And then they get to keep your product to sell elsewhere.
I got a good one for you. Just to stack on top of that to make it worse, because in my day job, I deal with tariffs on a daily basis. Oof. A whole bunch of companies are now tariffing based on the shipping.
Yeah. Yup.
Because people are hiding the cost of the product in the shipping. So now they charge you a tariff on your shipping.
Yep.
Which is exactly what eBay did 15 years ago. They started charging a fee on shipping because people were putting shipping separate as a line item, jacking up the shipping to make more money and not paying a fee on it. So
is that because it was shipping and handling? It's like shipping is what it is, but my handling of it costs an extra $10.
No, that's the crazy thing.
It's just they're just nailing you on the shipping.
Like my $25 was shipping, handling, sorting, packing, literally everything, taking it in from the other country off the boat, putting it in their warehouse. $25 per all-in pledge. Yep. And they're like, yeah, for this, so you could probably get like $150. And I was like, what? I'm like, that is the most dishonest thing. Apparently, they all do it.
Yeah. It feels a little bit evil, neutral evil or chaotic. It feels a little bit evil to make your money on a shipping. I don't think. I mean, maybe there's no pride in it, and when it comes down to a business decision, you're like, I just got to make my money. Got to pay the mortgage.
Well, and again,
but you're making a game.
Specifically, companies. This is what happens when corporations do it.
Yes.
Yeah. The guy who's starting a game generally is not that sophisticated in what he's doing to try and come up with that scam. He's putting a shipping charge out there and he's saying you're paying the actual shipping.
Yeah,
he's not putting $150 shipping fee.
Yeah, most of them want the lowest price so they can get it funded.
Right.
What I mean? So yeah, like you said, the bigger companies are the ones abusing it.
And that's the problem is the big companies are all doing this. Like there's certain companies out there that have like 10 Kickstarters now fully funded for like $2 million each.
Yeah.
Because they gave these outrageous
deals.
Pledge levels at they're like, how is that even possible? Because I can tell you, I've paid for sculpting, I've paid for art, I am printing the miniatures now myself. I know how much everything costs. Yeah. I've looked at what it costs to produce things. I look at what it costs to print things. I said, and it came up a bunch of people like, well, you're charging $199 for your all-in pledge. I said, yeah, and you're getting 20 miniatures, and one of those miniatures is a dragon. That's a 4x4 base. It's 6 inches tall, 8 inches wide. It's bigger than any miniature in the entire game. And for their next closest miniature of that size, they were charging $169 for that dragon, or $129 for that dragon.
Yeah,
and most adult dragons that D&D sells are $100.
Right.
Sells.
Yeah.
Just by
right. So now you're getting that plus 10 heroes and 9 mini bosses and dungeon bosses.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And the mini bosses and dungeon bosses are actually
larger scale, also, right?
They're more like this size. They're the 2x2.
Yeah, it's a great size.
So like they're bigger, and people are still like, "Nah, you're charging way too much for this." And I'm like, you know what? I don't know what to tell you, man.
Well, because those companies have ruined the market. I mean, this happens in so many industries where the big company goes in, they play games, and they undercut, and they think they're getting this great deal, and then now the market point is set.
So that's what I noticed.
Used to that.
So Kickstarter, when it first started with the games, you could get great deals on games, and most times they would deliver. Now you have it where Kickstarter became a pre-order for these bigger companies instead of them having to take any risk and produce any product.
Which I hate. Yeah.
Exactly.
And now GameFound started, and they're like, look, Kickstarter's doing this. We're going to give the little guys a chance. We're going to rock and roll with GameFound. What do you think all the big companies did? Now they went to GameFound because it's a gaming-specific Kickstarter, and they're doing the same exact thing. And now, and GameFound is very open about it. I was not on their front. I was on their front page maybe 2 days because I was a brand new person doing a brand new Kickstarter, doing a brand new game, never done one before. Check this out. But within 2 days, I was swallowed up because all they do is put the highest numbers and highest hits for them to make the most money because they take the percentage that whatever's trending at the highest funding value gets thrown on that front page to build it even more.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do I compete with that? Like, listen, chibi gaming is already a niche market. I'm a first-time guy doing it, and I'm doing it for a game that's dead. That this is to give basically people with existing collections a chance to keep playing it, and people who want to get into it technically can get into it.
This is a passion project. You know,
that's how it started. Yeah, I mean, it's still a passion project, but now, like I said, it's gonna be like a 200-page rule book that people can. I mean, it literally adds years of longevity onto your board game.
Yeah,
and people just they didn't want to hear that. They're like, yeah, it should all be free because of what happened with the last Kickstarter. I'm like, but I have nothing to do with that.
Yeah,
I can't give this out for free. Like, I put so much into it.
Yeah,
you know, it's like that old saying: you just can't fix stupid.
Listen, I get it. I was an all-in backer of the game. You know, my $300 is gone. But
oh yeah, that's a good amount too. I can see why people get upset about it. We interviewed somebody about some dice at Gen Con last year. I posted a video, and there was a couple of comments saying, "How could this guy be a Gen Con when they haven't even fulfilled their last order?" And I get that people, you know, they get upset about that stuff.
Oh, but, all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, it sounds like a great game. I enjoyed your setup. I didn't have a chance to play it, but maybe we'll get a chance to play. Very interested in learning more personally about the books and the cards. We'll talk offline about that, and maybe we'll do another interview, and we'll do one how to make games. That might be something to talk about. And so, speaking of making games, you have a bunch of stuff. You know, we talked about in the green room that you enjoy studying demonology, exorcism, and religion in the real world, and you've translated that into a supernatural horror survival game set in the Victorian era with steampunk. So tell me about that, Drew.
So basically in college, I went to a Catholic college where one of the electives was like religions of the world. And another one was demonology, where you got to study exorcisms, legit demonology from all over the world, talking Japanese culture, Hindu culture, the Jewish religion, Catholic religion, like everything. And it was an all-encompassing bunch of classes. It was really cool to take. And I've always been fascinated by that since I was a kid. And I was like, this would make like a really cool game, like based on all this stuff. So I decided to go with a Victorian era steampunk style investigation survival horror game, where essentially the war between heaven and hell to get all the human souls has collided and opened up rifts into something called the Atavastic. And all the things that come out of there are based on real life scripture and real world religions. And essentially what happens is you're a group of people who investigate this stuff. Some of you have tapped into the darker powers, so you can be like a morally gray character. Some of you can have faith in humanity. Some of you can have faith in the old Catholic Church. Some of you can have faith in old Judaism, like whatever you want. Like you can build your character to whatever it wants to be based on, and there will be things that are all affected by that.
Okay.
And essentially, I just got distracted by my own thoughts. Oh, so it does have all the real world stuff. It has some original stuff that I've put in there, but it also crosses over into things of like Cthulhu and things like that. Things that are like pop culture, like we all know about, you know, that may not be quote unquote considered as realistic as the other stuff, but it's still in there too. Like, so you could fight all sorts of ancient beings and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So Cthulhu has a certain mechanic of sanity, and in our own campaign in Erendor, we're dipping into monsters and some horror, and we're trying to add a horror element to D&D, and we're going to be at Long Island HorrorCon in February, and we're probably going to run some D&D games there, and we're actually trying to jump in and really add a horror element. So is there anything we could pull from your supernatural horror game, or is there anything in a supernatural horror game that really embraces the horror element, like a sanity system? Because this is an independent one. This is not Dungeons & Dragons, but is there any horror element that really shows that, or is it just all role-playing?
No, in mine, there's a sanity factor in it based off your willpower. And like things that happen will just chip away at your sanity, such as so one of the ones I ran this was all started by doing me one-shots on YouTube, doing a horror dinner night, where I'd invite a bunch of Instagrammers to my quote-unquote dinner at my mansion, and things would happen. Oh, listen, it was super fun. It's so awesome, but YouTube crashed my account, and I lost all of it. I'm so upset.
What do you mean they crashed your account?
All of a sudden, I logged in, and all my videos were gone, and I reached out, I'm like, hey, like, where's all my videos? They're like, oh, It was inactive, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, so yeah, it was a big to do. They can't recover it. I tried for so long. I'm very upset. But anyway, in that, like, so the first one that we did took place in like 1942, and it was set in Germany, and at one point, a little yellow and blue ball with the red star in it from like Toy Story rolls out and hits somebody in the foot at dinner. And when they bend down to pick it up, they turn around. How graphic can I get on this?
I would. That's YouTube, so maybe no curse words, or just give us the PG-13 version.
Okay, PG-13. They turn around and they see a group of young children, all with their eyes and mouths sewn shut.
Okay, that sounds pretty horrifying.
Yeah, and like everything around them starts to darken, and one of them walks forward, and like cuts the stitching on their lips, and just says, "Play with me," and like they rolled instantly for their willpower, and like they just bombed, and they lost a chunk of sanity.
Nice. I think I would personally myself lose a chunk of sanity if I saw that.
Yeah, and that was one of the lighter things that happened in the game.
Nice, I like it. So that game is a supernatural horror game. Is that game fully created? Is that something people can buy, or is that something you're working on?
You can't buy it yet. I have it's on hold until after I finish my OSE book. But in terms of it's fully playable. It's a skill-based game. All the skills are written out, magic abilities, spells, everything. It's all set and ready. It's just got to be laid out, formatted, and more artwork created.
So what is 2025 Teen Drew's Basement look like? Going into 26, it seems like you travel a lot. You're in California. You're Long Island Tabletop. You mentioned a couple other conventions. So what does the next six months look like for you, Drew?
2025 is hunkered down in the basement, creating and getting things out. Like, so my goal is to get WASDEC out before November. Right now, I'm actually way ahead of schedule. It's looking like I should be able to get out by September, October. But I want to finish that, get that out, finish the OSE book in time for Long Island Tabletop of 2026.
Okay.
And then Long Island Tabletop 2026, the OSE book is going to premiere. I'm going to have everything available, plus the miniature line available at the convention. And then I'm going to be running something called, it doesn't have an official name yet, but it's basically going to be the WASDEC Adventure League, where you can bring your own miniatures into the convention and play through a convention-specific adventure that I'll be running. And when you do it, you get WASDEC and Super Dungeon specific and exclusive rewards for playing at the convention. So it might be like item cards that you can add to your treasure decks permanently, maybe like an exclusive miniature or alternate artwork on your card kind of thing. And then you can level it up from convention to convention wherever it's being played.
Wow, I like that. I like that continuity.
And each one's going to be a story. So like the story at Long Island Tabletop 2026 will continue at Long Island Tabletop 2027.
I like it. I like it.
So right now, in terms of Team Drew's Basement, it's hunkering down, drawing, creating, laying things out, getting things done. The OSE book is really important to me to get done by April because that's a big passion project for me.
So I wish you luck with that. We're looking forward to see it. Looking forward to trying to play in that a little bit. DM Evanson recently was able to play, as I said before, in a little snippet of our world, and that was because we were missing one character. The monk couldn't make it. He was actually worked out. He was really injured. He was poisoned. So then DM Evans stepped in. He got to play for the first time in a while.
That's awesome.
And how are you with actually playing then? Like, you're the forever DM. If you go to a convention, will you jump into a D&D one shot? Have you been invited to other stuff, or are you just always on the other side of that screen?
No. So if you guys, you guys have seen me there at Long Island Tabletop. I run all 5 sessions. I don't stop. And any convention I go to, I don't play. Like, I just run. If I can tangent for just 2 minutes. Basically, I touched on a little bit when I did my intro. 14 years old. I mean, I was bullied from 2nd grade until I graduated high school on. That D&D was like this, like role-playing games, Magic the Gathering. That was all like safe havens for me.
Yeah.
That it became my escape, and my imagination always went that now when I go to a convention, I like to just run. And even at local events, I run and I don't charge for games. Like, I want people to come and have that great experience that I had as a kid.
That's awesome.
And just really like, because if they're there, I'm assuming they have interest in playing. So I want to give them essentially a localized Matt Mercer experience, right? Like I want them to hear the voices. I want them to hear the descriptions. I want them having an enthralling story that after the session, they go, dude, that was so much fun. Like I can't wait to go home and do my own thing. So I just run every session to give everybody like that kind of experience and hope for the best. And knock on wood, at Long Island Tabletop every year, it's I've had great feedback, and I sell out really quick of all my sessions, and it feels good to have people really happy. And I actually had an entire table once tell me that they felt the safest ever felt at a table because they didn't know like how what to expect at a convention. It was their first time playing as a convention, and especially as a group. And they were like, we felt so safe at your table. Like you were really nice to us. You made everyone feel welcome. The story was great. And you interacted with every one of us. Like you made us feel like we were all part of the story. Like it was so great. And like, to me, that was the biggest compliment I ever got, just to have people feel that way.
Absolutely.
It's nice to see a table full of people and the individuals who are playing, they come out of their shell and they interact, especially if you focus and you kind of give the chance to go around the table and let everybody have their minute and not like somebody take over. Say, oh no, wait a second, what is the bar doing, or what's the clerk doing, or this person, what do they want to do? And you let that come out. We ran last year, and we're kind of working on it as an adventure, was the Daggerdale Food Festival, and all the people who signed up for that D&D session in both sessions were they were foodies. There was one cook, a chef, and the reason they wanted to play is they had played only D&D online, most of them, and now they sat down with a bunch of people, and it was kind of food oriented, and then the food came to life, and they had to fight them. But they did it because it was like, oh, it's a food one, and it was interesting to them. But it was cool to see each person kind of come out of their shell and have a good experience. So,
no, that's super cool.
Have you come across that, Dave? When you run different groups, or what do you really notice about being a dungeon master? When people come out of a shell or a story arc goes and you see something come to life.
Yeah, that's why I do it. It's for all the reactions, for the the joy with it. Whether it's them figuring out who the bad guy is and that moment of clarity, and then it comes to the head, or just that battle where they should have lost and they win and they overcome triumph. Some type of difficulty. It's all of it, So at the end of the day, when they leave the session, they say I had fun, or thanks, and that was great. That's why I do it.
So do you do like voices too? And
not really into I gotta get better at that. I don't do too much, but I'm not opposed to it. It's just a matter of remembering.
DM Evans has a few different voices. We come across a few lords, hags, and mayors that kind of have like a similar tone, and when we hear that tone, we always get a little nervous because most of the time we end up getting poisoned or something. Like that sounds like a hag, David.
It could be. Yeah, no, I love doing the voices, and every once in a while I get really weird requests on Instagram about it. I had one of my characters, when I was streaming, I got requests to leave people spicy voice messages in the voice.
Oh Jesus, really nice.
Yeah, really, really weird.
So any parting questions, Dave?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully sitting at one of your tables next year.
Absolutely,
that'd be awesome. I'd be happy to have you guys.
Yeah, and then we Dark Alchemy, we are filming interviews, and then also we want to do, I want to say live play. I want to have like a little slice, like smaller encounters, like an hour session. But we might do some like nice 2 or 3 hour one shots at the dead professor's house. He has like a tavern. But when we start it up, if you ever want to be on the other side of the screen, let us know, or we'll reach out to you.
Yeah.
And if you want to throw some dice and see what it's like to be in your player's shoes, and all of a sudden, wow, this is pretty dangerous out here. I don't like this side of the screen.
I'm all in. And you guys are Long Island based too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we're Patriarch Quorum, pretty much.
All right. Yeah. So I mean, listen, if you guys all ever just want to meet up one night and do a game for fun, I'm down. You just let me know.
Absolutely.
That'd be super fun.
We'll reach out to you. We have your contact information. Reach out to you. So, any parting words, Professor?
No, I was good. What I was trying to say before my mic cut out was that Dave may not do voices, but Dave is really good at background music and ambiance and letting his music kind of set the stage for us. Sometimes there's a music shift, and I'm like, oh crap.
That's awesome.
I would also like to do a shout out to my favorite DM Evanson for two specific things. The first thing I will shout out is we'll walk in, and we've been playing with some virtual projectors. We have the map where you can draw on. We 3D print our own terrain. We paint stuff. But Dave will also build something. One time he built like an entire hill, and he flocked it. It was all foam, and he put it down, and we had this huge battle on this immersive hill. A second time, it's going to be three things. The second time, he put out this whole mat, and we said, you know what, Dungeon Master Evanson, we're going to make a left. And you can just pick up this whole board you spent the whole weekend making, because we're not going to go there tonight. That's sometimes painful. But the third thing I will say, in one of the adventures, he made a board, and it was like a floating, I believe it was like a floating city or something like that.
No, we were in like a garden. It was a beautiful manicured garden until parts of it just started disintegrating, and there were giant gaps in the ground, and we were falling.
And then our dungeon master Drew, he just starts ripping pieces of the board apart, and now that's gone. And we're like, what do you mean it's gone?
That's awesome.
It was just black underneath.
He made a giant breakaway board, and it was
and that like puzzle pieces, like certain puzzle pieces came.
No, that's really, really cool.
And that had a World of Warcraft feel. Like it was like the environment now is the problem, and we're like, ruh-roh, like we hadn't faced that yet.
But that's a big thing. That's a big tool that I use that I'm so glad you brought up. By the way, the reason I was looking away for a second, I just sent your guys' account. I don't know if you can pull it up. I sent you the cathedral and map that I made for Long Island Tabletop on your Instagram. I just sent it right now, a message.
I'll pull it up, right?
But like one of the things I did with that cathedral in Long Island Tabletop was I purposely did it where it was broken apart. So when Diablo erupted from the ground, the actual cathedral blew apart and separated, and underneath was like the dark demonic symbol that he rose out from, and everyone got scattered throughout because they were in the cathedral. And like I love using environment. That's such a great tool. But using it where you ripped apart your own terrain, first of all, ouch in the heart, but incredible. That's so great.
Worth it.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So
that's awesome though.
That really helps bring it to life. So so we're pulling up here on the screen on Instagram.
Yeah.
I will describe the scene for our podcast listeners if you're still with us and watching.
But actually just direct message you the photo itself too.
So we're having a problem. We're having a little technical problem opening that photo up. But so we're looking at Long Island Tabletop 2025. We have the Weather Dragons Harbinger table, which has a nice recess area with a glowing blue and words. And in the middle, we have this beautifully 3D printed and painted cathedral with its own LED lighting on it, where now the characters can actually interact with that. And we have a close-up side view here. So how? Go back one, Scott. Two. So this is a 3/4 view. We have a gray cathedral with I'm not sure what those arches on the side are called, the buttresses that kind of hold up the side.
Yeah.
And we have there's two. It almost looks like the Cathedral Cologne. It has the two twin towers, and then it has a nice I don't know what color is that?
It's awesome.
A blue roof. Turquoise roof.
I went with like the nice patinaed looking roof.
Yeah, I guess it would be a copper patina.
Yeah.
And so was parts of that removable? You were able to see inside, or
so
they
if
were
you
fighting
scroll
around?
through
I see
you
it.
can see it there a bit. But if you scroll through, you can actually see where they fight Diablo. The whole thing blows apart, and it's in different sections. And the way I did the foam table underneath with the flocking and everything is there's actually a demonic symbol underneath. I think it's if you go up more.
That's awesome.
Yeah, keep going up on that, and you'll see it.
And that
or not.
That pulls
Apparently not.
That pulls into your whole history of studying the different angelic and demonic and kind of religious.
Maybe it is that one they clicked
in the game.
Yeah, if you scroll through these pictures, it might. Yeah, I think it's in the end of this one.
So
there was.
That's cool. Yeah. That's really nice.
And you can see right here in front, one of the characters is on top.
We have the inside cathedral, which kind of opened up, and we have like this demon coming in with the symbol.
Yeah,
and you're able to find. I'm blocking Scott.
No, I said if you throw up my screen, you can see the full image. I've got it loaded now.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're able to find this team_Drew_basement.
Yeah, but using the environment is so clutch. Like that's such a great thing to do. That's such a
I love
one
the
of
way
my
that
favorite things.
Cathedral came apart. That was awesome.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, and that's all. That's all. You are 3D. You 3D printed that, Drew?
Actually, I won that in a raffle. I did a charity raffle for mental health, and I put the bid in on that, and I won it. And they sent it to me, and they were like, "Hey, like this is like a $300 cathedral. You just got it for your whatever your bid was." I was like, "That's awesome." And
awesome.
that is awesome.
But I do 3D printing, but this was massive, and they sent it like that thing is about 3 foot long. Like it's a lot bigger than it appears.
And really well painted.
Thank you.
Details, and you know that was you. You got it. You got a blank canvas.
Yeah, I got it all. It was basically the color of the filament, and then I sprayed it and went to town painting it.
Sounds awesome. So you can follow me, Dungeon Master Roy, and Dark Alchemy at Dark Alchemy Limited. That's Dark Alchemy Ltd. Follow DM Evanson on Instagram at DM_Evanson. That's EVENSEN. Once again, if you're watching today and you made it this far into our program, please subscribe to our channel. And you can follow Team Drew's Basement at team_Drew's_basement. And it turns out I made a funny joke, or I thought it was funny, that there is no team. It is just Drew. I'm like, oh, who's on the team? Like, it is just me. I am a one-man team, but it sounds cool. I like that.
Well, anybody who plays in the basement is considered part of the team. But that just happened quick because we were at a Warhammer tournament with the friends I play with, and they're like, "What team are you?" And we're like, And my friend Mike goes, Team Drew's Basement, because that's where we all play. And it just stuck.
It's stuck. I like it. Yeah. So that's it for today.
So you still play a lot of 40K?
Yeah, I'm actually probably going back to mini wargaming in September to film again.
Awesome.
So
that's great.
Love those videos, so it's cool.
My sideline is running all the 40K tournaments at our local shop. So,
what local shops?
Brothers Grimm.
Brothers Grimm Gaming.
Oh, Grimm, they still do 40K tournaments?
We do. Yeah, we do about 35 people max now. But
oh my god.
Yeah.
And we have all 3D printed terrain there. I want you to do a shout out, Professor. Do a shout out for Brothers Grimm, Guild Shop, and then the date of the tournament.
Date of the next tournament is June 22nd, 9 a.m. signups. First dice at 10. Tickets are available on ticketleap.com. I can get you the link. But yeah, we've been running tournaments. I've been running tournaments there since, I guess, the 8th edition came out.
Yeah.
I had stopped running at the end of 5th edition because I didn't do 6th or 7th. I kind of
How is the scene? Is it ultra competitive or is it pretty?
No, I mean, there's a couple of competitive guys, but the bulk of the scene is kind of casual, you know.
Okay, because I'm not ultra competitive anymore. I
lost
that drive.
We all did. There's guys who struggle to finish their games in the time allowed, like, you know, DM Roy.
Maybe
with an orc army.
Damn
it's a laid back environment.
Yeah. I'm playing Dread Mob, so I finished my games.
All right, maybe I'll come by to one, and I'll drop my Necrons.
There you go.
Yeah, June 22nd, Brothers Grimm game in Selden. You can also go there and find Dungeon Dragons, adventures, books, Whiz Kids models, some of the bigger models, terrain. Dark Alchemy is selling some miniatures there,
and all your cardboard crack.
All your cardboard crack. Yeah, they do a lot. They do a lot of cards there. So
card games to the end of time.
That's it for Dark Alchemy tonight. Team Drew. Drew, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you for having me.
This is pre-recorded. We'll be airing this on Sunday. And if you hang out 1 minute, we'll put you back in the green room and just get some final information.
Sure. Thanks, guys.
Got it.
Thanks, everybody. Have a